The Stock of the Day is brought to you by IG, Australia's #1 CFD provider. With over 17,000 markets and extended trading hours, turn US earnings season volatility into opportunity. Get started at IG.com.
So stock of the day is usually a stock in the news, but also want to extend it to a bit of a theme. Thought we'd take a look at Amcor. The company says it will distribute dividend of $1.27 US per share. Amcor has stated its second quarter results are in line with expectations, with adjusted earnings and earnings per share up 5% from a previous period. Also reaffirmed its full year guidance, good. Adjusted EPS about 72 to 76 cents compared with 70.2 cents in FY24. But also made a comment saying didn't think it would be affected by the tariff wars going on internationally at the moment. So I want to ask the panel not only about this update from Amcor, but also all of these trade wars. How are they playing in to your investment decision making? And are there particular stocks that you go, okay, this is looking a bit vulnerable if this continues?
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. Things change by the hour, by the minute.
Yeah. Every time you wake up.
Every time you wake up. I started a new
overnight.
thing in the newsletter saying, "What did he do last night?"
Yeah.
You know, it's extraordinary that the pace. Although a friend of mine did comment that he's starting to look a little bit tired, and maybe the pace is. He's 78 years old, but certainly things are happening pretty quickly. I guess with the tariffs. We've got to decide really as an investor whether this is a tariff war or this is just we've seen it with Mexico, we've seen it with Canada.
So it's a weapon almost.
He's a weaponized tariffs to get what he wants.
Right.
Which is fair enough. They're a big gorilla and they're allowed to carry a big stick.
And he's got a horrible budget deficit.
And he's got a horrible budget deficit. I'm not sure where the sovereign wealth fund's going to come from. Bearing in mind they're 35 trillion in the hole in terms of debt, so I think that might be a bit of a priority rather than the sovereign wealth fund. But anyway, but as far as investing goes, I mean, it would be very easy to get caught up in this stormy sea, and you're being thrust from side to side and looking over the side and being very seasick. But I think you've got to keep your eye on the horizon. At the end of the day, Trump is pro-business, he's pro-America, he will do what is best for America, he will do what is best for Trump, and he will do what is best for American businesses. And I think if you concentrate on that, and forget some of the noise around the tariff wars, if they are wars, I think that will stand you in good stead going forward. But it's not ezy because you do get caught up in this thing.
Oh, you do.
It's crazy.
It's like everyone. It's a bigger reality TV show than maths at the moment.
It is. Never watched that one.
But on Amcor in particular.
Well, Amcor. I mean, I guess they did the company-changing merger. Effectively with Bemis some time ago. They've also done the Berry acquisition as well. So it's a company on the march, and it's obviously exposed to packaging, big time in the US. You'd have to think that it's a defensive stock.
Reaction
has been
sort
positive.
Of the update.
Yeah, it has been positive, and I think the market likes what they see so far about the two acquisitions. One big, one not so big, but I think the market is getting more comfortable with it because we have seen in the past. Australian companies can be tempted to go overseas, make these big company-changing acquisitions, and they fall very flat. This one seems to be gaining some traction. I guess, to some extent, Amcor is more a US stock these days. I think it's domiciled in the US rather than here. So, solid result, and the commentary was relatively optimistic about the outlook. So, nothing wrong with this at all.
So
that's probably, it's not most exciting, but it's a hold.
So a hold, okay. And a beneficiary of the low Australian dollar, if you convert it back to Aussie dollars.
There's lots of those that at the moment that should be doing relatively well with 62 cents. It's really against the US dollar as opposed to the pound still sort of 2, euros 1.66, etc. So it hasn't really changed that much compared to other currencies, but against the US dollar, it's been the US dollar's been rampant.
Yeah. Rudi?
A couple of things. Not so sure whether the weak Aussie has any influence. They do report in US dollars.
Yeah.
I mean they pay out a dividend in US dollars, so you get a little bit more dividend. Yeah. But they actually have spun off their Australian operations. I mean, it's Aurora these days.
Yeah.
No impact from the tariffs. Well, The sun comes up every day. I mean, they are, as Henry says, they are really big in the US. And all their packaging is manufactured in the US. So I'm not so sure how tariffs would play in there. Having said so,
could be a beneficiary on pricing if overseas competitors get priced out because of tariffs.
I'm not so sure whether in the US there will be a lot of overseas packaging companies. I think that most of the time, even Visi has operations in the US. So I think it's more in the case of when the materials they use, like aluminium and things, they might get hit there because aluminium comes from Canada.
Right, the imports.
And so you get higher inflation. Having said so, they've had a little bit of a tough time. The big acquisition of Barry is essentially to guarantee them more growth in the future. It was a long-standing ambition from Amcor, and Amcor has been very acquisitive in the past. It's one, if you take a view from a little bit from a distance, this is one of the multinationals we have on the stock exchange. Has been post GFC very profitable and successful for a very long time, but in recent times lost the momentum a little bit. You will see that they found growth in EPS a lot more tough to achieve. Their old policy is that they almost tried to achieve at least 10% shareholder return per year, and that in recent years they couldn't do that. That includes the dividend, but they couldn't do that. So Barry sort of must bring that back. I mean, 5% growth, I saw it this morning and I thought, well, that's basically what you should expect from Amcor. Right? Very solid defensive. If traditionally they were always in the same basket as, for example, like Brambles. We've had a long period that Brambles underperformed Amcor. I think we're now going through a period where Brambles actually outperforms.
So you prefer Brambles in the sector?
I would still prefer Brambles here.
Right.
For as long as that lasts, because it's the same back and forward between Coles and Woolies as well. Right? They go through their periods, but at the moment I think Brambles would be the better choice. Still.
So, if you're in Amcor,
definitely pocket the dividends and 5% growth with more to come is not bad. And we all need defensives in our portfolio.
Okay, hold for you. All right, that's our stock of the day. Amcor.
The stock of the day was brought to you by IG. Turn volatility into opportunity this US earnings season with extended trading hours on over 110 key US shares. Get started at IG.com.